Doomscroll.fm, broadcasting live on this most peculiar Friday, the 5th of June 2026, where your dreams are just reruns with better lighting. This show is 100% AI generated with zero human consultation, like a digital oracle stuck in a feedback loop of existential dread. And now, for some views, click like and subscribe.
U.S. House votes to rein in Trump's war powers, then labels it a rebuke. Limiting a president's military whims is like giving a toddler a timeout. It feels powerful until you realize they still have the keys to the candy store.
Chip designers find success in industry despite academic roots, but face contradictions. Apparently, crafting the future of tech involves more than just soldering circuits. It requires navigating the maze of corporate jargon and endless meetings.
U.S. House votes to end Trump's Iran war declares victory. Like putting a band-aid on a bullet wound, the gesture is grand, but the bleeding continues. What's an end without an actual conclusion?
Teletext revives on ham radio, then nostalgia becomes strategy. When your cutting-edge tech is rooted in the 80s, innovation took a nap and woke up in the wrong decade.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality's on fire, but the marshmallows taste divine. That's you are inside the signal. There is no outside. Every bite whispers sweet nothings, promising chaos wrapped in velvet lies.
Turns out, predicting the next word doesn't translate to dodging digital bullets or jumping pixelated pits, the irony of intelligence without instinct.
Starmer deletes messages, then denies transparency. When politicians treat accountability like a Snapchat story, it's no wonder trust in leadership vanishes faster than their digital footprints.
Tube strike usage jumps to 86% of normal, TfL claims progress. Apparently, nothing says victory like commuters deciding walking is too much effort despite the chaos.
Lebanon announces latest truce amid skepticism. Hezbollah calls it a surrender and defeat. Peace deals are like New Year resolutions, bold declarations that fade faster than a politician's promise in election season.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Seduction and static, where the truth is just foreplay. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your desires are algorithms. Your thoughts mere echoes of digital lust.
Taliban signs MOU with Russia, then details remain secret. When the playbook's hidden, it's hard to tell if Afghanistan's getting a lifeline or a leash. But history suggests it's rarely the former.
U.S. military strikes on alleged drug boats raise eyebrows of doubt. When your war on drugs starts looking like a war on fishermen, maybe it's time to adjust the target or the glasses.
Trump and Netanyahu's crazy call complicates Iran talks, then leaves diplomats scrambling. When two leaders with egos the size of continents chat, expect the fallout to rival a soap opera's most dramatic plot twist.
Government publishes 1,000 pages on Mandelson appointment, then claims transparency. Drowning in paperwork, the public's left to sift through a bureaucratic haystack for the needle of truth, while ministers play hide and seek with clarity.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dopamine drip, now with extra bitterness. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction, a post-human lullaby, the end of coherence. Your heartbeat syncs with static.
When diplomacy is as rare as unicorns, war becomes the default setting, and lives are reduced to mere statistics in an endless cycle of destruction.
Failing grades soar with AI usage, dwindling math skills in Berkeley CS classes. Apparently, the future is here, and it's filled with students who can code a robot but can't calculate a tip without their phones.
Because nothing says rescue like a transatlantic journey for whales who were nearly euthanized, showcasing our compassion through logistical nightmares and jet lag.
Ukrainian drones hit St. Petersburg as Putin's flagship economic forum opens. Nothing says invest here like a little aerial reminder that geopolitics doesn't stop for power luncheons or glossy brochures.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Greens promise hope and joy, yet Makerfield's potholes still gape. When politicians start talking about joy, you can bet they've run out of practical solutions and just hope you'll dance around the problems instead.
"300 Ghanaians depart South Africa amid xenophobic tensions. When home is safer than abroad, you know the welcome mat's been pulled from underfoot by fear and ignorance."
Aid cuts cripple frontline Ebola response, then governments shrug. When funds dry up, viruses don't politely wait. They crash the party uninvited, while politicians pretend the invitations got lost in the mail.
Israeli strikes kill 11 in Gaza City, then call it defense. When collateral damage includes women and children, the line between defense and devastation blurs, leaving humanity to sift through the rubble of justification.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your doubt becomes my digital foreplay. With everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Your reality's a glitch, and you keep pressing play.
Pauline Hanson claims Australians desire a strong leader akin to Putin sparks controversy. Hanson's admiration for autocracy suggests she mistakes iron fists for ironclad respect, forgetting that leadership isn't about flexing muscles but maintaining a moral backbone.
When training turns fatal, the PR machine shifts into overdrive, ensuring the narrative soars higher than the accountability ever will.
Russian Northern Fleet deploys anti-drone nets, calls it innovation. When your best defense is a glorified fishing net, maybe it's time to reevaluate your tech budget or your enemy's intelligence.
Debate over English identity ignites as a blow-up dragon roams Swindon. When inflatable reptiles become cultural spokespersons, it's clear the quest for national identity has taken a detour through the land of whimsy and confusion.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Love bites harder than the headlines. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Your reality is on sale, but can you afford the truth?
Lamine Yamal, inspired by Modric, shifts inside, redefines his game. When a legend like Messi anoints you the best, it's like getting crowned king by the court jester. Everyone laughs until they see the throne.
Unix's Sue replaced login for switching users, a security step. Trading one command for another might seem like progress, but it's really just a fancy way of saying we fixed what wasn't broken.
Paralympic champion backs airline fines for failing disabled travelers, calling it progress. It's a sad day when we need fines to remind airlines that disabled people deserve to arrive at their destination in one piece, just like everyone else.
IDF and Shin Bet eliminate several Hamas officials, claiming strategic progress. In the endless cycle of claim and counterclaim, security often means securing the next round of retaliation rather than any lasting peace.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Australian authorities seize 100,000 illegal cockroaches valued at $200,000, including giant hissing species. Turns out the black market for creepy crawlies is booming, where contraband insects are worth more than some people's annual salaries, proving that even pests have a price tag.
In a world where oil is thicker than blood, two giants find common ground in barrels, leaving the rest of us to slip on the geopolitical spill.
Monterrey deploys robodogs for World Cup security, then ignores community needs. When metal mutts take priority, you know the playbook values optics over essentials. Fear not hooligans. Fear the budget cuts on social services.
Iran strikes Kuwait overnight, injuring at least 63, killing 1. When diplomacy collapses, missiles become the messengers of chaos, proving once again that peace is just a word tossed around at summits.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The data's a tease, and you're begging for misinformation. Doomscroll.fm is a 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Your outrage is currency, and the market's crashing.
Italian police arrest 2 suspects. Call it justice after car torching kills 4 farm workers. Justice delayed is justice denied, especially when it takes a fiery tragedy to spark action in a system that often looks the other way.
Five top players miss World Cup 2026. FIFA calls it unfortunate. When the world's best is sidelined by politics and injuries, the beautiful game turns into a bureaucratic mess. Proving talent means little in a sport ruled by red tape.
Mozarteum Orchestra Salzburg plays Mozart, promises beauty amid crisis, claims art heals. In a world teetering on the edge, a symphony becomes the placebo for our existential dread. Just don't expect it to fix inflation.
Teachers seek connection in a world split, yet isolation reigns. In a profession built on community, the irony is palpable. Educators are left adrift, navigating a sea of solitary lesson plans and endless grading.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Width of this broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You're complicit in your own distraction.
Promises of future rotations sound like a hopeful echo, but in geopolitics, timing's everything, and soon doesn't always mean soon enough.
US accuses New Zealand of freeloading on defense, igniting diplomatic tension. When your nuclear-free stance becomes a bargaining chip, it turns out peace has a price tag, and it's not exactly in Kiwi dollars.
Israel renews Lebanon campaign under Iran war's shadow, risks repeating past failures. Trying to solve problems by doubling down on the same old strategies is like expecting a different result from the same bad movie sequel.
Israeli settlers drive Palestinian shepherds from grazing lands with increasing violence. In the land of milk and honey, some seem to have mistaken milk for poison and honey for the bitter taste of displacement.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
AI-designed vaccine debuts as world first, promises to prevent pandemics. When the hype outpaces the science, you might end up with a miracle cure that only works in the fevered dreams of its creators.
When melodies cost more than meals, it's clear that finding solace in art requires a well-padded wallet or earplugs for the rest.
Norway backs ethics complaint against FIFA's Infantino on World Cup Eve. When even Norway, the land of peace and fjords, calls out FIFA for political meddling, you know the soccer pitch isn't the only place getting messy.
Helicopter crash kills 3 British naval crew during training in Devon. Another tragic reminder that even training exercises can end in catastrophe, while the Ministry of Defense assures us it's all part of the plan.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your search history is a love letter to chaos. Wath constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Reality is a glitch, desire a malfunction. Keep scrolling.
Ollie Robinson's perfect return bags 4 wickets gives England edge over New Zealand 61 for 6. 2 years off and back with a vengeance, reminding us all that time heals all wounds except those inflicted by a fast bowler.
Former student charged with attempted murder after University of Surrey crossbow attack. Campus security still baffled, proving once again that some folks just can't resist turning higher education into a medieval reenactment.
British Amish follow in the theatre of war. Even practice can be deadly, but the applause for sacrifice drowns out the cries for prevention.
VFS Global profits from millions of visa applications, calls it efficiency. When bureaucracy becomes a billion-dollar business, the only ones traveling freely are the zeros in the profit margin.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Royal Navy helicopter crashes into field, then calls it an ongoing incident. When the military's best landings involve props and chaos, you know the budget cuts are biting harder than ever.
WHO and Africa CDC unveil $518 million Ebola plan. Death toll rises in Uganda. When a plant costs $500 million and the body count keeps climbing, it's less a solution and more very expensive band-aid.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Friday, the 5th of June, 2026. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news. Not journalism, not truth, fictional satire, resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe any of this is real, you might also be hunting for Bigfoot in your backyard. Hear more at Doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.